For the next few days, I will be visiting the seminary where I studied and graduated 10 years ago. There is an alumni event, and my class of 2015 is holding a 10-year class reunion. Seminary, I went to Virginia Seminary in Alexandria, Virginia, outside of DC, and I guess it's because this trip is just around the corner that I've been thinking of that place, which so formed me and continues to form me, my classmates, the faculty, everybody involved in the seminary community, and continues to form not only me, but also my family. When we moved to seminary for my studies to begin, our first child was 8 months old, and our second child was born 2 years later during my second year of 3 years of study. Now, as seminarians, we don't have money, right? Grad students don't have money. And the seminary community is extremely formative and generous in supporting everyone throughout their journeys. One form of support that even extended to the community of small businesses in Alexandria. For example, knowing that seminarians don't have money, yet wear things like this a lot, offered to dry clean vestments for free for seminarians, which was really handy because probably many of us would have never washed our vestments in 3 years without that form of support. There was also a small family restaurant that periodically would offer free meals to seminarians. And one day we went. Okay, so with a toddler and newborn in tow, it was just a feat to get there in the first place, right? And by the time we were settled in at the table and just situated, my husband and I were ready to go home and call it a day. That was enough. And then we could tell that it was a family restaurant in the sense that clearly a family of multiple generations was operating it. And then a boy of maybe 12 or 14 years old came to the table. And I saw him out of the corner of my eye, but who I was looking at was our oldest son, who was 2. And I saw him look up, and his face open, his eyes grew large. For the boy had just set down glasses of water on the table. This, being my son's first experience in a restaurant, had no idea that this would happen. He was astounded that this boy read his mind and just knew that he was thirsty. And without my son even needing to say anything, came over to our table and gave him a glass of water, and not just him, but all of us. My son, looking up, his eyes big, a huge smile spreading across his face as he continued to be so surprised, looked up and said, "Thank you, kid." In his 2-year-old voice, "Thank you, kid. Thank you for bringing us these glasses of water." It continues to be a story that we tell in our house, and whenever somebody gives something to another, "Thank you, kid," as we remember just how genuine was his thanks at receiving a glass of water in his very first restaurant meal. His experience was unexpected, and his gratitude genuine, profound, and profuse, as in the words of our scriptures, he cried out with a loud voice, "Thank you. Thank you, kid." In our gospel today, Jesus encounters 10 men who have a disease of their skin, a condition where they are visibly suffering from some condition. It remains undefined what exactly the scriptures mean by leper and leprosy, but the point is that they have a visible condition, and in the mores of that society means that they cannot participate in community, that they are ostracized and rejected as being unclean. And so these men find themselves not in any particular community, not in a big city surrounded by small businesses and restaurants, but as Luke points out, these men are somewhere between Samaria and Galilee. Luke is always very intentional with the details that he offers. He wishes to point out that these men and Jesus and the disciples are not in a metropolis. Jesus and the disciples are continuing on their way toward Jerusalem, and at this very point in time, they find themselves in between, in a borderland, at a border between this place and that place, which is so often no place. It's not where you want to be. It's not where the resources and the support of a community are. It's just where you go when you have nowhere else. And there it is that they see Jesus and immediately recognize his power. Though they must not have met before, they can see it in his eyes. And although they're keeping their distance because that's just what they're accustomed to doing because nobody wants to come near them, they cry to him by name, Jesus, Master. They recognize the power that is in him. And they say, have mercy on us. He sees them, he hears them, and he says, go and show yourselves. Go to the priests. Go to the community that you can find. And as they do, amazingly, astoundingly, they are healed. One of them, recognizing that he is healed, stops, and I can picture my son's expression here, looks up, turns around, his face wide with a smile he forgot he could even feel, his eyes bright for the first time in his memory, and he praises and thanks God with a loud voice. And he, Luke notes, was not even from there. He was not even one of them. He was a Samaritan, and we know other stories of the Samaritans, that they are the outsiders, they are the others, they are the ones that the people Luke is talking to do not want to even see. Time and again, Luke shows us, implores us and his listeners that wherever we think God is not, wherever we think God would never go, that is where God is. That is where God dwells. That is where God stays and thrives and lavishes love and attention. Jesus, somewhat snarky, says, there were more of you. Where's the rest? But to the man who stopped and thanked him and thanked the power of God for this unexpected blessing, this unexpected healing, Jesus says, get up and go. Your faith makes you well. The word here is really whole. Your faith makes you whole. It puts you together again. It keeps you together. You are whole, Jesus says. Wholeness. Oh my, couldn't we go for some of that? In a world, a country, intent on division and fracture at every turn, at every word, at every story, at every video. Couldn't we go for some of that wholeness? Where is the faith that would make us well? Where is the faith that would make us whole? Aren't we hungry for that? Aren't we thirsty for that? The Bishop of Los Angeles pointed out in a beautiful letter he wrote earlier this week that though we might wake up in the morning intent on being thankful today, oh, well, then we turn on the news or we look at the news, and then our sense of gratitude and fullness might dissipate ever so slightly. It can be hard to give thanks. It can be hard to notice and name what to even give thanks for when so much hurts and so much is broken and there is so much to fear, more and more. I was unsettled myself this week as another place that my family and I have lived is Chicago, and the neighborhood where we lived and where the boys were little there too is one of the very most diverse neighborhoods in Chicago, I think maybe the most diverse. Walking down the streets of Albany Park, you pass restaurant after restaurant from different countries. You hear different languages spoken on the street at every turn. And I would walk from our home to the church to our errands all the time, and would know and would feel that people were really and are really looking out for one another. Across and amid differences, there is a deep sense of community and belonging and of looking out for one another. So I was startled this week when I heard from some parents of the school where my kids were going at that time that the ICE agents have arrived there too and are waiting outside the school doors where my boys went to kindergarten, waiting to trap some of these kids there. And my mom friend was recounting this, and in the same breath as she was expressing her lividness and her fear and her fear, in the same breath she also said, "But thanks for everyone who is coming out to protect these kids. Thanks for all the neighbors that I see risking their own well-being to stand up and offer protection for this community when it needs it. Because these kids," she said, "are not just their kids. They're not anyone's kids," she said. "They're all of our kids. They're all of our families. They are all of our community. And in that community and in God's community, there is no other, there is no outsider. There are none who are so far removed from the love and attention of God that we cannot or even look at them. No one in God's community is unworthy of care, protection, and indeed of wholeness." I noticed that even in her fear and anger, she made a point to say thank you, to say thank you, to say thank you. Our psalm that we've just heard exhorts us to give thanks to God with our whole heart in this assembly, on the streets, at the border, at the ICE facility, in the restaurants, in our workplaces, in every time and in every place. To give thanks is not to offer empty words. It can be to offer words of hope. But it's not idle. To give thanks, it changes us. To give thanks in unlikely and impossible and excruciating and difficult circumstances is our hope at being made whole. Giving thanks in even such a time as this can become, as it is for my family, a story that we tell time and time and time again to laugh and encourage us. Giving thanks in such a time as being healed from disease becomes a story that Luke tells. And we hear time and time and time again to remember that we are not far from the love of God. We could never be far from it. It is always time to say thank you. When it's hard to know what to say thank you for, it's a time to say thank you. To say thank you. Thank you, kid. And to know that this faith makes us